All right. Well, we are here with Jason Walker, co-founder and CEO of Waypoint Robotics, founded in 2017, 2016. We've been debating this. What's the date? What's the right way to say it?
Incorporated August 8th, 2016, but we started operating in Q1 2017.
All right. And we are here again at the AMRL Conference 2021. And you just got off the stage not too long ago. So we have some questions around that. We're going to let Jake jump in with our first question here.
Yeah, absolutely. So AMRs, it's a hot topic right now in the industry. Everyone's talking about it, and things are moving fast, and actually really fast for Waypoint Robotics, because we are now Q3 2021, so less than 5 years from when you guys were founded, and you guys had some pretty awesome news with Waypoint Robotics and Locus. Let's first of all let's talk about that. How did that come to be? Where we are now, and what's the quick future outcome look like for what's next?
I'll try to make this a quick, short answer. Waypoint was always privately funded. We grew the company through reinvesting everything we made and inputs from our parent company. And we got to a point where we had grown it organically to a point where we had the products sorted out, we had a good customer base, but we knew we were going to need a lot more resources to serve our customers at a much higher level. So bigger customers, more customers, et cetera. And that was going to require a ton of capital. And so we started the process of looking into possible fundraising. And we had also had a lot of folks coming to us unsolicited, inquiring about buying the company. And I went to my board and I said, look, guys, we keep getting these questions. We should know if somebody actually shows up with a check, if that's a good deal or not. And so we decided to really engage in the process of figuring out, what our options are. And right away, Locus stepped up and said, I got an idea. And the two companies just fit so perfectly together. There's almost no overlap between what Waypoint does and what Locus does. And that's very much by design. We built Waypoint to be everything that other AMRs and other AMR companies aren't. Not because we think it's wrong. I'm fond of saying that there are no wrong answers in AMRs right now because it's such a big market. There is so much need that there is someone for everyone.
So that's a big point right now. I think, when you look at a lot of times just acquisitions and companies moving, Locus and Waypoint was a great fit because it's not a change, it's an expansion of opportunity for what Waypoint Robotics offering was before and what Locus is before. And now you can just collaborate together and provide a lot more solutions.
And is the key word with this merger.
Absolutely.
And we want to give our customers the things that we haven't been able to, which Locus can, and Locus wants to be able to give their customers the same great Locus experience, but with much higher payloads. So the fit is perfect. And the place where there is a ton of overlap, and this is really, I think, why it felt so right for everybody, is that we all had the same mission starting out. And we started out pretty close to the same time. We're both New England companies. Our offices are only like 20 minutes apart. And we wanted to make mobile robots easy. And the folks at Locus come from 3PLs, right? They come from the logistics industry. And so they just precisely, exactly knew what to build, how to sell it, how to price it, what they could do for those customers. And they nailed it perfectly, and they stuck to their core mission of doing that. But at the heart of it was, let's make mobile robots easier for folks in the warehousing and logistics business. And with Waypoint, we wanted to make robots easier for small to mid-sized enterprises especially, but our customers ended up being huge companies as well, that completely different deployment paradigms, but same mission, right? Make it easy, break down the walls to deployment, make it faster.
So quick acronym check for our audience out there that might not be as familiar. 3PLs. Can you define that real quick?
Third-party logistics.
Yes. Okay. Because I know we've got a lot of manufacturing leaders out there, want to keep everyone involved, which is where my next question is going to go as well. Because, we're here at the conference. You just got off stage. You were talking a lot about flexibility in your presentation. So Why is flexibility so important for AMRs when it comes to installations?
Well, so flexibility, it means many things with AMRs. On a minute-to-minute basis, flexibility means if somebody leaves a box on the floor, the AMR can see it and drive around it instead of sitting there all day, draining its batteries, which is what AGVs would do. And flexibility day-to-day, week-to-week, if you're a machine shop and your work changes on a regular basis because you do one job for a customer and then another customer comes in with a different job, being able to configure and reconfigure the robot to meet whatever job you currently have working, that kind of flexibility is essential. Like it doesn't make any sense if that company can't reconfigure their robot in that way. And then flexibility in terms of, like with Locus, being able to add 100 robots during peak season, right? That's incredible flexibility. So there's those types of flexibility. And then when you're talking about deploying the system, the way I think flexibility is so important is being flexible in terms of working with the environment instead of trying to reshape the environment to match the limitations of the technology. So Kiva, because it was the first really big automation or AMR-ish acquisition, those robots, and again, no wrong answers in mobile robots, but they were really AGVs. They're very simple systems and all the intelligence lied in the software. Like hats off to Kiva. Mm-hmm. Those are brilliant folks who built a great product.
Yep.
But you had to tear down the building almost
and for those of you who don't know who Kiva is, could you who was Kiva and who is Kiva now?
Yeah, so Kiva was one of the first companies, if not the first company, to really do a great job of automating warehousing with mobile robots. Yep. And one of their customers was Amazon.com, and Amazon decided they wanted all of the attention of Kiva, and so they bought the company, and so now Amazon Robotics is what Kiva used to be. And it's funny, we all still talk about Amazon Robotics like they're a player, but they don't sell to anybody.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is where Locus came from, because Locus was a Kiva customer also. And then Amazon decided, you know what? We don't want any of our competitors to have these cool toys, so we're taking them all back.
Yep.
And the folks at Quiet Logistics, which is where Locus spun out of, they said, yeah, that never again. We're gonna make our own autonomous mobile robots, and we're gonna fix everything we felt like was broken about Kiva. And one of the things that was really difficult is the barrier to entry to completely gut a building and then rebuild it from the ground up in a way that fit the technology was a huge barrier to entry. And so they wanted to be able to deploy into a building just the way it is and keep right on trucking.
I think that's a really good summary. When we always think about flexibility, we always talked about, well, AMRs are flexible. There used to be AGVs, the autonomously guided vehicles that followed barcode scanners or magnetic tracks, and AMRs were the definition of flexibility when it came to robots. But we got to think beyond just what you talked about. Flexibility isn't just in seconds and minutes reacting to a trash bin that was left in the middle of the floor. It's about future expansion, changing in applications moving forward. So I think when a lot of companies look at installations, look at flexibility, they need to set something. And this is another key takeaway that I had, is set your expectations realistically around AMRs. And they're to view it as a tool to the challenge you're facing, rather than just, this is the solution, it's going to work, there's nothing else that needs to happen. Talk to me more about this idea as it's a tool to the industry.
Well, and I would make the point that this is a tool for people who are working in manufacturing or warehousing. And this is another area where different as our solutions were, Locus and Waypoint had the exact same philosophy. In the case of Locus, they wanted to make a tool for the people who were doing picking in the warehouse to make their quality of life better and make them a lot more productive. And they did that by limiting the amount of walking they have to do, increasing how quickly they could acclimate to the picking process. It is really easy to get trained and start working with a Locus system. And so Locus was very focused on the people who do the work of picking in a warehouse. How do we make a tool for them? And at Waypoint, it says it everywhere, workforce first, right? This is a tool for the people who are using these robots in manufacturing applications and warehousing and elsewhere. So I say all the time that if a roofer had to go to community college to learn how to use a nail gun, they'd all still be swinging hammers. And when you think about the fact that AMRs are not so good that you can just punt one out of the back of a delivery truck and they take off and automatically find their way through a building and somehow know what you mean when you throw a box at it, they need people, and people need the robots to be able to keep up with demand and get more done and not ruin their bodies with so much hard physical labor and walking. And so if you know the robots need people and you know the people need the robots, why not make it easy? And why not build that tool for those people?
So to wrap things up, the one question I have, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, right? You mentioned different AMRs bring different things to the industry, right? What would you say is the unique differentiator around Waypoint, and what's the best way to connect with you and your company?
So I don't forget, the best way to connect is waypointrobotics.com or locusrobotics.com. And the differentiators, when we do trade shows, we often have people who kind of are trying to do a drive-by and they're like, how much does that thing carry? And they almost don't stop walking, which I get it, right? Nobody wants to be accosted, but this is true. We have people who then stick around for 90 to 120 minutes talking about all of the differentiators. We did so many things different with these robots that it's really hard to pick one. I say the most important one is just how easy to use it is. And all the robots on the market now are way easier than they were a couple years ago, for sure. But ours is designed so that even a CEO can figure it out. You can, the people who unpack the box can set this thing up and use it. There's always a big green button to guide you to what you probably want to do next. So every differentiator, though, is really predicated on having a robot that can do the robot stuff on its own without having to have a person, an expert, compensate for what the robot can't do. So like our 3D perception as one example, the best thing about that as robot tech, it's cool. It's three-dimensional, 360-degree LiDAR. When you see the scans, it looks amazing. But the best part about that is I don't have to send the roofer to community college, right? The robot sees the world in a way that's similar to the way we see the world. And so if there's a pallet hanging off the front of a forklift, it's an overhead obstacle, and the safety lasers can't see it. Most robots just have a 2D safety laser, hopefully, or a regular laser. Trying to teach your shipping and receiving clerk about how 2D LiDAR works versus 3D LiDAR is a non-starter. What needs to happen is that robot needs to see the world in the same way we do, and it needs to react and behave in a way that we expect it to behave. So you don't have to explain how awesome 3D LiDAR is and how self-driving cars use it and all that. It's just like, well, it's not going to do something really dumb because you didn't, go through these complicated steps to set it up. So it's that everything we've done points back to ease of use, ease of deployment, and serving the people who want to quickly put it to work.
So workforce first, right?
Absolutely.
That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, this has been great. Jason, thanks so much for jumping on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great.